I'm not the kind of person that believes in this weird stuff. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
And these children supposedly pushes the car across the track to safety.
Most people who will accept the artifacts will not accept the dates. They say that they are much too old.
From the boundaries of the universe to the depth of your soul, embark on a journey through the unknown and unexplained as we explore mysteries, magic, and miracles. Hello and welcome. This is Patrick McNee. Today, we'll see how helping hands can come from anywhere, including the spirit world. And we'll dig into our past, literally at an archaeological dig. But now, let's look at the spirit world through the ancient wisdom of the Native Americans. The field of parapsychology in America is only a little over 100 years old. But the Native Americans have been aware of the spirit world for thousands of years. The Navajos believed there were many spirit forces at work in this world. One was the Shinde, spirits of departed persons which take on various forms on Earth, often human. Even today, the Navajo spirits are very real to anyone from any culture who encounters Arizona's ghostly maiden, Red Feather. The Grand Canyon in the northwest, the Salt River Canyon in the south. Arizona is a land of canyons. One sandstone-walled canyon was found by the Navajo and called the Spirit Canyon. Its walls were adorned with magic drawings by ancient peoples. Today, this sacred canyon is known to only a few, and they know it as the home of the ghost, Red Feather. As told by the Navajo, her story begins about 150 years ago, when John Martin, a white trader from Prescott, accepted a young Navajo girl as payment for gunpowder and whiskey. John Martin built her a house which still stands today, although in ruins. It was quite a unique dwelling, incorporating both white man style and the Navajo eight-sided Hogan shape. In 1870, John Smith's bride bore him a healthy baby daughter, Anna. The mother died in childbirth. Anna grew to be a young beauty, with her mother's dark hair highlighted by her father's red. But she preferred to wear Navajo clothes and be called Red Feather. She was not accepted in the white man's world, and she hated her abusive father. So she ran away from home and made her way to her mother's Navajo village. Little did she know, she would also be an outcast in the Indian world. From the day she arrived, forced to work and eat alone, the only place she felt at peace was in the Spirit Canyon. She studied her ancestors' drawings on the wall. One in particular she read as depicting a young man who endeavored to join the spirit world by leaping into the sacred canyon and taking his life. Unfortunately, this became the inspiration for Red Feather to leave the world she was born into but never fit into. And in 1887, she too ended her life in the canyon. Not long afterwards, local Navajos began seeing a strange vision of a young maiden in and around the canyon. The apparition looked very much like Red Feather. It was understood that she had indeed become one of the Chindi. Of course, the story of Red Feather could easily be discounted as nothing more than pure Indian legend, if it were not for the many corroborating dates and facts, and the modern-day sightings.
When I was a little girl, I used to go out to Spirit Canyon, which is a sacred place for the Indian people. One morning, I went out there just after sunrise. I saw a woman standing on the edge. She was wearing the traditional clothes. She looked like you could see right through her. I couldn't see her face because it looked like it was all black. Then she was gone, just like that, and I couldn't believe it. I was really scared. And after that, I never went out there again.
We like to hike a lot, my husband and I. We take a tent and a little food and camp out for a couple days. We were out in the Painted Desert. We found this great canyon with petroglyphs on the walls. We decided to camp right there. We had a pretty good fire going. I felt kind of funny all of a sudden. I looked up and there was this thing, this woman or girl. She was kind of glowing. Her face I couldn't see. It was glowing all white. I've never seen anything like it. Then she just faded away, vanished. It scared the daylights out of us.
We were on vacation with the grandchildren. We like to take the back roads a lot. We really feel that you see much more that way, especially with the kids. We'd been to the National Monument north of Window Rock, and we were on 191 headed back down to the Petrified Forest. I saw a very strange girl walking on the side of the road, dressed in Indian clothes. I'm not sure what it was, but something made me stop. And I looked at her, and she just vanished. I'm not the kind of person that believes in this weird stuff. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. She just disappeared.
Well, on your next trip to Arizona, if you see a pretty young Navajo girl along the way, looking a bit out of place, I would suggest that you don't stop and chat. We all know the stories of spirits haunting houses and even people. But in this story, the spirits of young children keep vigilance over an old railway track, acting as guardian angels to keep potential victims out of harm's way.
More often than not, ghost stories are frightening, but even more frightening when the story is true. Let's go back to the south side of San Antonio.
It was late one evening in 1984 when Paula Williams was driving home from work, taking her usual route. A young girl standing alone on the side of the road caught her attention.
Are you all right? Do you need a ride?
The girl only nodded a yes and got in the car.
What's your name, honey?
She gave Paula her name and pointed to where she lived.
Cindy Sue.
Cindy Sue was extremely quiet and seemed to stare through Paula. It unnerved her. As they drove, they passed over some railroad tracks. Cindy Sue's eyes met the sign and locked. At her house, Cindy Sue remained in the car. Paula thought she might be having problems at home and suggested that she would go first and talk to her parents. Paula told the woman who answered the door her daughter, Cindy Sue, was waiting in the car.
Hello.
She started yelling and even threatened to call the police if Paula didn't get off her property.
She's in the car.
Then she said the strangest thing.
Your child's in the car. Just let Cindy Sue rest in peace.
Paula was taken back by the strange turn of events and walked back to the car, confused. When she got to the car, no one was there. Paula remembered Cindy Sue fastening her seatbelt and locking her door. The door was still locked and the seatbelt still fastened, but Cindy Sue had vanished. It was on her way back when Paula remembered why everything felt so unsettling. It was the street names near the railroad track. All of them the names which belonged to children.
Behind this discovery was the tragic tale of innocent children, and even more so, their remaining spirits.
Okay, so Roy, where are we?
We're out on the southern part of San Antonio on Mission Road.
Now this is the famous road, right?
This is the famous road where the children were killed in the bus accident back in the 40s.
It was a cold but clear afternoon when a school bus was making its last delivery of school children. About 10 children were still on the bus. The bus had to cross the railroad tracks. There was no warning of the oncoming train.
bus stalled on the track and the train come along, and before the kids could get off, it hit the school bus and killed all the kids.
This disastrous accident started a legend that motivated many people to come to these tracks.
From any of these places here, you can stop your car, completely stop it, turn the motor off and leave it in neutral, and it will pick up speed all the way till it gets across the railroad track.
The strange thing about this is that the road doesn't go downhill. It doesn't even run level.
If you look to the railroad track, it appears that the road is elevated.
There's no question. I mean, I can see a hill going up.
Okay, how do these cars get up the hill by themselves?
If people's cars stall or something, these children supposedly pushes the car across the track to safety.
It's come through the safety zone.
And once they're safe of the railroad track, then the car stops.
Skeptics say the explanation may be a magnetic field in the area. But how do they explain what happens next? Fingerprints on the back of the cars, as if some imaginary hands pushed it forward. Putting powder on the back of the car helps to see the fingerprints clearly.
They say on the bumper and on the trunk. I think with the wind, we'll do it right here and see what happens. I'm determined to check it out for myself. I watched a couple of cars do it, but just to see if it can really happen. This is about where they say they stop. Turn the car off, put it in neutral. Take my foot off the brake. And just sit here and start going. And it's beginning to pick up speed. This is amazing. No hands, no feet. This car is just going on its own. Across the railroad track, I'm gonna have to brake because now we're gonna go downhill.
There was no doubt in my mind the car was pushed over those tracks. Was it gravity, or was it the legendary little spirits? There was only one way to find out, and there it was. I could feel my heart beating.
Possible finger marks right here. And a couple of prints right here. Well, that really is pretty amazing. Although we weren't able to find anyone to verify every detail of this story, one fact does remain. There hasn't been a single train accident on this set of tracks since the children's tragedy in the 1940s. Somehow, every stalled car has managed to cross the tracks, reaching the other side in safety.
There was one thing I still wanted to find out. What did Paula see that night on her way back home?
This is the neighborhood supposedly where they have street signs with the children's names from the accident.
Bobby, Alan, Nancy, Carol. It was here in the streets close to the railroad tracks where we found the answer to Paula's mysterious young rider who never reached her house that fateful afternoon. Cindy Sue.
Standing here on this soil, it's amazing to realize our history is not linear, but vertical. We are living on top of our past. And when we dig deep enough, we not only find answers, we discover new questions.
The ground hides roots, the tunnels of burrowing animals, even our own dead. But underneath each layer, we can seek darker depths to reveal who we are and where we came from.
It's an established fact that humans have been in the United States for 10 to 12,000 years. But what if there's evidence to the contrary, dating humans back 180,000 years? In the middle of the dusty, hot, and dry climate of the Mojave Desert, one of the greatest archaeological finds in North America was discovered by Ruth DeEtte Simpson, San Bernardino County archaeologist.
The concept has been that the first evidence of man in North America is between 12 and 14 or 15,000 years, and it's what they call Clovis. There is so much geological evidence and so many sites now that are being dated older that the Clovis concept is sort of outmoded.
Proof of early humans come in a startling array of tools, 60,000 to date, and the dig sites are still being worked.
These are hand axes. These two are ones that you could expect to find in Europe or in Asia or in Africa. Ones with a big butt up here to hold on to like this, and then a long, tapered, worked, modified, prepared tongue.
In 1980, the bombshell exploded. Scientific dating put the artifacts at around 200,000 years old. This makes the Calico site one of the 2 oldest dated sites in the Western Hemisphere, and the oldest in North America. With such compelling evidence, how or why would someone not believe this find is genuine? Does it pose a threat to evolution, or even our concept of the world?
Before we began digging, while I was still doing surface work in the area, there was a general feeling that the specimens were different.
She took the artifacts to one of the world's leading anthropologists, Dr. Louis Leakey, famous for the Olduvai Gorge discoveries in East Africa. He firmly believed in the American site and remained site director until his death. Others, however, have not been so accepting.
The dating is something that most people who will accept the artifacts will not accept the dates. They say that they are much too old. And there are those who say that the date's not old enough.
Dr. Bernice McAllister has brought her students to help excavate the 4th pit.
They tend to be people protecting their own sites, and they say that these tools were made by nature. Well, nature must have had hands like ours, Mother Nature, because whenever you find a absolutely smooth indentation in anything, it's usually not nature.
Archaeologist Fred Buttinger stumbled upon an important find, a hand axe. His discovery led to the building of a 4th pit.
As I was walking up this drainage that's right behind you, I noticed about an inch of an artifact protruding from the bank. And it was still in place. I had to excavate it out. It was a very, very nice oval, bifacially flaked tool. And the craftsmanship was distinctly different than anything that we had ever found in the pits.
If these tools were human-made, well, maybe that raises too many questions. The greatest of which, where did we come from?
The evidence here at Calico is a minimum of 200,000 years old. And with a date like that, it suggests that we're dealing with an earlier form of man.
It's hard to suggest, but I would be brave enough to say Homo erectus, simply on the basis of, in the rest of the world, and I've seen this in Bangkok, also all over Europe, England, France, and North Africa.
Of course, we'd always love to find evidence of man himself. I doubt that we'd find much in the way of bone because of the soil chemistry. Unequivocal evidence of fire would be very good.
It may take finding a human hand to rattle the non-believers and to open up startling possibilities. A present-day Pandora's box.
Discovering who we are is not always an easy task. We come from many different backgrounds and mixtures of cultures. Whether you believe the Holy Scriptures or evolution, our roots are intertwined and far below, meeting at a source called Calico.
Ohio houses one of the greatest mysteries of North America, that of the mound builders, an ancient culture that left puzzling traces of their civilization through designs in the earth. The symbol of one huge earth serpent remains as much a mystery today as it did when it was discovered over a century ago. As the largest effigy in the world, the serpent stretches a quarter of a mile long, averaging 20 feet wide and 5 feet high. Holding an egg-shaped object in its mouth, it curves around like a writhing snake, its tail coiled. What it means, nobody knows. to be ready for our future, we must learn from our past. This is Patrick McNee. Join me next time for more mysteries, magic, and miracles.